This week's Devar Torah is Parsha Behar, brought to you by Be There Israel and Or Chadash. So this week's Parsha is very unique in that the entire Parsha is dealing with one set of mitzvot that are all connected, the Shemitah and the Yovel, the sabbatical year and the Jubilee year. And the entire Parsha is dealing with just this. It's very, very unique. Therefore, we can assume that the concept of the Shemitah year is very, very important. So what we're going to do tonight is just try to understand cycles of 7. The sabbatical year was 6 years you shall work your fields and prune your vineyards. And in the 7th year is a Shabbat for God. And all work in the fields ceases. Now this obviously follows the pattern of 6 days you shall work, and the 7th day you shall rest. So the exact same pattern, 6 of work and 1 of rest. But if we look carefully, we'll see that there are actually 7 cycles of time based on the number 7. The first one is mentioned in the Torah after 6 days of creation. God created in 6 days, or time periods. On the 7th, God rested from all the work that he had done. We can't get into what that means, but from the very beginning of creation, this cycle of 7 was established as the cardinal cycle of time. And along with that, the idea of 6 and 1. So we see 7 in the time period of days. Right now, we are counting Sfirat HaOmer. And so we see 7 in weeks also. We count 7 weeks between Pesach and Shavuos. So each one of these I could delve into much greater detail, but our idea is to try to see the whole picture. So we have 7 in days and 7 in weeks. The one that is the least known is 7 in months. Because we usually don't think of, well, what do we have in Judaism that is 7 months? So we have 2 things. One is, in the Torah itself, there are 3 pilgrimage holidays: Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkot. They all happen in the first 7 months of the year. The new year of months is Nisan, the month of Pesach. And the last one is Sukkot, which is in the 7th month. And this is a cycle. And this cycle actually has halachic ramifications as to different vows that a person would take. During what period do they have to fulfill their vows? Or lost objects. When do they have to be announced so that people can find them? So there is a cycle of 7, and all of our major holidays, other holidays were added. Purim, Hanukkah, Tu B'Shvat were added later. But in the Torah itself, all of our holidays are happening in the first 7 months of the year. Years, so that's already 3 cycles: days, weeks, and months. In years, that's what this Parsha is concentrating on. You shall work for 6 years, and the 7th you shall rest. That's the 4th period of 7 as far as years. And then you have the same pattern as counting the Omer. 7 times 7 weeks is the Omer. 7 times 7 years, and then the 50th year is the Jubilee year, the Yovel. So we have a cycle of 7 years, But we also have a cycle of 7 times 7 years. And then the 50th year is a very, very significant year, the Yovel year, the Jubilee year. So that's the 5th cycle, 7 times 7 years. The 6th cycle of 7 is, we'll call it the macro cycle. And that is the tradition that this stage of history will last for 6,000 years. And the 7,000th year will be the Messianic era. So we see it follows the same pattern. Where do we learn this from? In the first verse of the Torah. Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim v'et haaretz. In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. There are 6 alephs in the verse. Aleph also means Eleph, which means 1,000. So the sages said from this we can deduce that creation, this stage of creation, will last for 6,000 years. And the 7th will be the Messianic era, just like 6 years you work, and the 7th is Shabbat. That's why after Mashiach comes, it's called Yom Shekulo Shabbos, a day that is all Shabbos. It won't happen immediately, but the Messianic era will move into a time period that will be called all Shabbos. So that's 6 cycles based on 7. And the 7th is what's called 49,000 Jubilees. This is an expression of the sages that after Mashiach comes, after the resurrection of the dead, Tachiyat HaMetim, and moving into the world to come, then all of reality will continue to rise in consciousness. How long? 49,000 Jubilees, which is a symbolic number, meaning just like more than you can imagine. But again, they give over this period as a cycle of 7. So just to review, we see that 7 is in days, weeks, months, years, years times years, millennium, and then like beyond beyond our concept. Now what's interesting is most of these 7, not all of them, but most of them are based on 6 and 1. Creation, the weekly Shabbos, the Shemitah year, the millennium. It's all based on 6 and 1. And so there are 2 symbols in Judaism that allude to this. One is the menorah. The menorah was a middle shaft with 3 arms coming out on either side. So it was actually divided into 6 and 1. And it's brought down that the middle shaft represents Shabbat, and the 3 on either side represent the 6 days of the week. And what this represents is that even though the week is constructed that Shabbat comes at the end, but it's hinting to the idea that our lives revolve around Shabbat. And anyone who keeps Shabbat knows how true this is. Like everything that we do, all of our plans revolve around Shabbat. Especially if we're planning a vacation. Well, where are we going to be for Shabbat? And on Tuesday, when are we going to shop for Shabbat? And on Wednesday, what guests are we having for Shabbat? Our whole week revolves around Shabbat. A businessman has to know how to work around Shabbat. So this is hinted to in the menorah. And it's also hinted to in the Magen David, in the Star of David. Why? The Star of David is two interlocked triangles, but those two interlocked and opposite triangles create 6 smaller triangles. And they surround a middle hexagon. So the 6 triangles of the Magen David are the 6 days of the week, are the 6 days of creation, are the 6 years of work. And the middle space around which they all revolve is the Shabbat of creation, the Shabbat of our week, and the Shemitah year, the 7th year. So we should all have a blessing that our life should truly revolve around Shabbat. That is such a blessing. And also that our consciousness should expand, that we realize, especially now that we're back in Eretz Israel, we really do have a 7-year cycle. And we're back in Israel after 2,000 years as we approach the 6,000th year. We're in 5772 now. We're not that far from the 6,000th year. And according to most people, that is why we're back now. Because as we're reaching the climax of these 6,000 years, the Jews are being brought back to their homeland. And Bezrat Hashem, from here, the final redemption will occur. Thanks for watching this Devar Torah. If you like what you heard, which I hope you did, please come to our YouTube station, our website, our Facebook, our blog, our Twitter, and take advantage of a plethora of Torah, of audio classes, videos, poetry, stories, music, word and gematria search. You'll find a lot there, and please share this with your friends. www.thetrugmans.com